about what's trending in e-commerce packaging so far in 2024. And actually, just to give this a bit of credibility, we're kind of famed Lil Packaging stand behind us as the inventors of the Amazon packaging, in particular the Lill envelope, which we often get pigeonholed for, but I think a lot of you have probably seen those A1 and A3 envelopes book bags mail through all the time. And just a bit of background, we work with more internet retail top 500 than any other business in the UK. So I like to think we get quite a collective amount of feedback from the internet retail majors of the UK on what is trending in 2024. And I thought I'd break this down into 7 elements, which I'll just rattle through in this introduction. One will be about Pantone Colour of the Year. Many of you may not be aware of what that is. I'll go to that in a few more slides. Then we got the importance of faster speed in e-commerce packaging. This is probably the biggest thing of 2024 in overcoming 2 big hits on the rise of living wage. Some people still refer to it as minimum wage, but yeah, that approaching 11.44 from the 1st of April is a big influence. So, number 3, I'll be talking through fit for purpose e-commerce packaging and how to judge it. There's a few clever tricks Amazon do that I think would be worthwhile imparting on you guys that might or may not be aware of that. Point number 4 I'll be going through will be materials. This whole waste not, want not, sustainability mindset, 1066 principle, which I'll go into some detail. Number 5 will be about actually UK made making a big trend this year. Actually, logistics in just bringing things in further from overseas, especially with the issue with the canal at the moment, the detours are making that incredibly challenging. Non-obtrusive labelling, there's some clues and hints here as to what I'll be talking about, but again, we'll go into that in more detail. And a lot of people will ask us, what is the progress in general, the industry here? I mean, great show to do this, the e-commerce packaging and label expo. How close are suppliers and manufacturers and retailers getting towards net zero? And I'll go through that. So that's a summary of what the 7 elements will be about, but let's focus on number 1. So, how many people are aware here, Peach Fuzz was Pantone Colour of the Year for this year? Anyone? Oh, we got some people at the back, that's good to see, 2 or 3. So, Peach Fuzz, get it? Get to learn it. If you don't know it, research it. It's quite a dull, boring half-an-hour YouTube video that gets launched every December as the Pantone Colour of the Year for the year ahead. Using a lot of Americanisms of wording of how this colour, Peach Fuzz, is so inspirational, warming, and all these things. But it's remarkable how the Pantone Colour of the Year influences a trending artwork or trending design in e-commerce packaging. So this is the inspirational artwork from Pantone, the organisation in the States that, as a panel of judges, chooses this. And from these hues and different tones of Peach Fuzz, you'll see retailers emerging, and this is one of our first artworks we produced in 2024 here. So Wonderbrow, you can see how close that is to Peach Fuzz, and it really, really does make a difference in that trending design. And for any of you that are unsure if this is a one-off, actually, if I go back to what was Pantone Colour of the Year 2023, Viva Magenta, I see a few nods here. And guess what one of the famous brands in the UK did? They printed that colour back in 2023, so it really does make a difference. So whether you're amongst the audience as an internet retailer yourself, a brand, a white label, or even a packaging geek like me, be very aware of what's trending in Pantone Colour of the Year. It really does make a connection to how your customer perceptions of things. So, I said this earlier, number 2, faster speed of fulfilling being effectively, I should have put this as number 1, this isn't in order of priority, but it really is the major thing for 2024, particularly when you look at the gov.uk minimum wage or living wage. That's going to be affecting all businesses in the UK from the 1st of April. So, you know, it's shown here that the annual increase will be £1.02 per hour. So anyone aged over 21 on £11.44, and that's, you know, for operators, you know, or distribution centres of warehouses, anyone doing fulfilment or internet retail of any scale, it's a big impact. You've got a pack speed of, you know, every 30 seconds or a pack speed of every 3 minutes. It's all about trying to find fast. So here's a plotted chart of how this living wage has increased since COVID, pre to post-COVID situation. And in fact, if I just slide on here, 2.2% modest increase when it went up to 891. 6.6, even people were mooning that actually that would have too big an impact on general business. With all the increases facing households and cost of living crisis, that was deemed fair. But this is what we have now. So basically 2 hits of near enough 9.8%, really making a difference to whether an operation makes profit or not. And actually, this is probably the bit that I just wanted to talk openly about. In fact, generally the consensus in retailing, internet retailing, is that you're in 2 camps this year. You're the kind of 10 to 20% of businesses that have investment funding or venture capitalist funding that are growth, or it's startup launch phase where it's all about growth. But the vast majority of businesses, whether that's pure play internet retail or both in the sense of retail, or businesses that are exhibiting here that are supplying internet retailing, the vast majority are, right, we're hunkering down and going to just focus on making profit on what we've got. I see a lot of nodding of head as I'm looking around the audience here, but the reality is, this year's tough. Since Mother's Day of last year in April 2023, general retailing went down 20%, and that trend followed through almost all of 2023 and still is the case now. So, you know, when your business shrinks 20%, and being honest, our business has shrunk 20%, I don't feel that's anything to be ashamed of. It just is how the market is. Retailing's down, internet retailing is down, but focusing on what you've got and making profit on it is absolutely paramount. So overcoming these living wages are going to be the biggest challenge this year. So if I find my clicker again, this is a brilliant video. In fact, I mentioned before, we kind of famed or pigeonholed for doing this Lill of Lil, where a lot of fulfillment centres we go to might be packing it, you know, one every 30 seconds, one every 20 seconds, but this just shows you exactly what I'm talking about. So, looking good. I'll put the volume down there a little bit, but this just, I'll talk about it in this video playing in the background. This shows you how the elite internet retailers are able to fulfill envelopes, single item orders in an extraordinarily fast manner. So this is actually 700 packs per hour. It's an incredible speed, and actually really demonstrates, you know, associates honing their craft and actually becoming experts in the skill of fulfillment. It shouldn't be seen as a basic operation when you can see somebody mastering their craft to this extent. It's incredible to watch. So I could watch this and play this all day, but I know there's some of you in the audience will be less enthusiastic. So let's move on. I'll prove my point on that one. I think in that it's just the speed of fulfillment. So point 3 of the 7 topics: how to judge fit-for-purpose packaging. There'll be amongst you, some of you in the audience that are fellow packaging geeks like me, selling or manufacturing packaging, but also internet retailers and retailers and white goods makers. And the reality is, and this probably more affects 2023, so for the last 12 months, and I've been absorbed in only manufacturing, selling e-commerce packaging since 2001, so 22 years, I've never seen a greater period of lightweighting and waste minimisation in the industry before. So if you guys are familiar with box specifications, generally what you might have specified as a 150 craft test leaflet box, in most cases about 117 now. What manufacturing is trying to do with paper performance is actually increase the performance of a paper liner so you can lightweight it and offer the same amount of strength. It doesn't always mean that's a bad thing, because ultimately in the waste not want not sustainability principle, it's using less tonnage. But how to judge how far to go is key here, and that's what we're going to come on to. So Amazon are probably famed for actually the best benchmark of what is commercially acceptable, in that we all receive a lot of Amazon orders. Some try to avoid it, others do every single day, but actually the benchmark of, let's say, minimum expectation, I think Amazon is just an easy one that we can all relate to. It's not massively over-engineered packaging, but it is fit for purpose. And they have a big statement here saying, more importantly than lost profits, damaged and defective products result in unhappy customers. And I think we're all aware Amazon very much promote that they're a customer-centric organisation, but yet they haven't over-engineered their packaging. So, hands up, how many people have heard of Amazon ISTA 3A drop test? It's a fairly unfamiliar term. If you're selling on Amazon, doing fulfillment by Amazon, you might have become more familiar with this. But effectively, it's 15 drops, different vertices and surfaces of your box, from knee height, so 460 millimeters to be precise, and 2 from hip height. And that is with the heaviest item that would typically be put in that size of box. And the reason why I suggest that as the most simple explanation to test yourselves is that if you're making plates and you sell orders of a single item order of a plate, put your heaviest plates in your plate box and do those total of 17 drops. And if it smashes, you know you've lightweighted it too much. It's such a good sense check that you can do in 10 minutes yourself in whatever environment, whether you're working from home or in a distribution centre or head office. So hopefully that's something that you can all learn from. Also, fit for purpose packaging really does matter about the size being appropriate for the item inside, because ultimately if you have that plate put in a box size of a television box, it won't survive. So actually what you'll see happening almost every exhibitor here is massively expanding their range of right size packaging. So to the extent of having every centimetre variant, so you can actually, especially for starters, it's very, very crucial having, in fact this video should just scan through some of these, having a visual of actually what each centimetre size box looks like, and that you can order just a pack of 50 or a pack of 6,000. And this has become the probably biggest shift in what the industry of e-commerce packaging is providing to brands and retailers. So an exciting development, but that's coming from the, let's say, back end of what the industry is providing to retailers. So what helps greatly with that is AI. People often pigeonhole the packaging industry as being, kind of, I guess, 1920s boring industry. It's kind of, you got, if you're at a dinner party, the tax man sat here, who's most exciting to sit next to, and then the paperclip guy here, and then somebody selling packaging. But in reality, the industry is massively adopting AI to create these visuals of each size with the products inside it. And to the extent that, we've even adopted here, if I play this in the background of fairly low volume, this actually isn't me, I'm Fred Lill, this is AI Fred. So by speaking into a laptop lens for about 40 seconds, it's facially recognising all my movements, all my mannerisms within my hand here, to actually create an AI version of me, where you can just instantly input anything from ChatGPT to go in 128 different languages at the click of a button. So actually, if we can get audio up a bit on this video, hopefully you'll hear that this start of this video is in French, then it rolls into German, I think it then rolls into Italian and Welsh, and I don't speak any of those languages. Hopefully somebody speak fluent French can tell me that's good French. But actually, the German rolling on here, it gives you instant access to magnify market audience and reach. So again, just to amplify that every box is available in every size, it's a great tool to do that. So I think the packaging industry is fighting off this stereotype of being dull and set in its ways, because actually this is an easy win for boosting what's available in the e-commerce sector. So I'll move on to, before we go into the Welsh, which my wife insisted I put on this presentation, section 4 of materials. So I mentioned a lot about lightweighting, and that actually it's a kind of waste not, want not sustainability mindset of a thing that many of you, I don't know how many hands up have heard of this 1066 mindset. The year 1066 is quite a recognisable year for most British people as Battle of Hastings. So it's a number that's easy to remember. But the reality is, from a sustainability mindset, it's better remembering those numbers as the Battle of Sustainability 1066. In that, in reality, anything you receive in your household, or anything you purchase, or, well, anything you use, even a pair of shoes, unless it's reused 10 times, or has a better chance of being recycled than 66%. It's bad. It's very bad. We need to get into the mindset that actually, you know, if you buy a pair of shoes, you're not wearing it 8 times and throwing it away. That everything that we're sourcing, procuring, needs to be at least reused 10 times or has a better than 66% recyclability rate. So there's a great principle here, I don't know if you've heard of it, of the author of Cradle to Cradle, his name's William McDonough, saying do more good, not less bad. So just simply picking something that might get, you know, 30% recycled element into it, just think about actually how that can be recycled. And that brings me on to the perfect next slide. So these are statistics from DEFRA of the recycling rates in the UK for various different substrates. Now first it's important to note that in column 2, steel, glass, aluminium can be recycled an infinite amount of times. It might take a lot of energy to do so, but an infinite amount of times. But in column 3, we've got the actual recycling rate that the UK achieved in the year of 1st of April 2022 to the end of March 2023. And actually I'll just focus here on the paper element. So paper can be recycled 5 to 25 times, corrugated cases being the best performing of that element of paper, in that while overall paper is recycled 71.5%, corrugated has a phenomenal recycling ratio of 84%, statistic ratio. And try to think of recycling in terms of the commercial value of that piece of scrap plastic, scrap paper or corrugated. In that almost famed Amazon Lill envelope, the commercial value of the actual recycled board value of one of those is about a penny. And when somebody's in a recycling centre, they're receiving a conveyor of materials running 100 metres a minute to 150 metres a minute, which is the speed most of us would run at, and you're trying to pick off things there of commercial value. So you might pick that envelope, oh, that's worth a penny. But in reality, a lot of paper envelopes are so small and lightweight, they're actually not worth more than about 1/10 of a penny, so they don't even get picked off the conveyor belt as a worthwhile pick to recycle. So I think this is the main reason why corrugated has such a good recyclability rate, because you pick up a corrugated box that's a microwave oven size, and that commercial value is often worth the best part of 10p. So that's really what the recycling rates reflect about its commercial value. And plastics, particularly e-commerce films, I mean this event is all about e-commerce packaging and label expo. When you've got a piece of plastic tape or a piece of bubble wrap, the commercial value of that is 0.001 of a penny. So there's no point in picking that off and putting it in recycling. And actually the reality is that less than 1% of films in the e-commerce sector get recycled. The ones that do tend to be things like mattress flow wrap, because actually that does have commercial value. You're talking about something that weighs a total of about 40 to 45 grams of a total substrate that is still worth 3p. So, talking about the good stories in plastics, milk containers. A lot of people don't know how good milk containers are. They are fantastically well recycled, and actually they're frosted. There's HDPE material that you can see in blue on the plastic column over here. Gets recycled 10 times, with a recyclability rate of 78%. So not all plastics are bad, it's just that in the e-commerce sector, we really need to address this issue. So yeah, this is data from DEFRA and Regroup that you can check out. I'll post this slide on LinkedIn if you connect with me after the show. So come on to number 5, UK made. So inherently, things being in the UK made have a natural, I don't need to go through these in detail, because people understand actually buying locally generally has a lot of advantages. But I wanted to talk specifically about the reduction in carbon footprint by buying locally. So these are stats available on the ASOS website, their Fashion with Integrity report, and a breakdown of their entire Scope 1, Scope 2, Scope 3 carbon footprint. And the reality is that for internet retailers, particularly fashion and health and beauty, between 6 and 8% of their entire carbon footprint is their e-commerce packaging. So if by you being a local provider, you can offer them a more sustainable option, that is a huge, huge magnet of attraction to them, because For an internet retailer to just be able to find some way of dropping their carbon footprint 6 to 8%, that's the biggest win they can come across. And if I show you on the next slide here, this just gives you an understanding as well within ASOS how much of their carbon footprint is upstream transportation. So in carbon footprint terms, we've got upstream transport, which is basically goods coming from your suppliers, in which case ASOS are quite known for a lot of their garments being made in the Far East, being transported from upstream to you, the seller, the retailer, ASOS, and then you've got logistics that go downstream to all your customers that you're taking daily orders for. So upstream transportation, if you can be their new supplier, locally, just around the corner, you can massively impact that 18% factor that is weighing on the shoulders of all retailers. And in here, particularly fashion. I mean, fashion is hammered the hardest in terms of e-commerce about their carbon footprint, because generally the fashion industry represents between 3 and 10% of the total global carbon emissions. So be a benefit from it. So number 6, non-obtrusive labelling. This is probably the easiest win for retailers without costing a penny more and being actually a more attractive option when customers receive your orders. So, you know, we're all aware of gift boxes, whether Tiffany or Pandora. You know, imagine you've got a gift box that, you know, you're given for your birthday. You would never in your right mind slap a label on top of the ribbon like this. You would want it to be given over to your loved one in that beautiful unboxing method. The reality is, if I come on to the next slide, retailers are realising it's so much better to put the label on the side or the reverse, underneath, let's say, to not spoil that unboxing experience. Because in reality, the only people that need to see that label and scan that label and get it to the right recipient are those in the logistics chain, not the final consumer. And the consumer wants the experience. They want to see that Ted Baker bag with a brand on the front and have that initial excitement, just like receiving a gift. So actually that's the 6th most trendy topic at the moment. And then what I'm asked about, let's see how we're doing for time. Right, we've still got another 5 minutes here. How the industry is progressing to net zero. We get asked this a lot. We've made a big improvement since joining the Climate Pledge, and I'd encourage every man and his dog, lady, anyone, join the Climate Pledge. 470 signatories now. We were the 81st. It's basically a commitment by senior management owners or major stakeholders in firms to commit to achieving net zero 10 years ahead of the Paris Agreement, so by 2040. And these are just some of the brands that are also signed up to this. And just to give an impression of what we've managed to do, first to explain, I mean, we're not a big business, we're 90 million revenue, 80 staff, but by just showing you a photo of what we look like here, doesn't show you that we're, rocket science. We're not like Google or NASA, SpaceX. We have achieved a huge reduction in carbon footprint just by doing what we know is best, or what feel is best. So in 2021, we had a carbon footprint of over 14,000 tons CO2e, and we've managed to greatly reduce that 10,000. I think what's great to see is so many exhibitors here also sharing similar stories, how the focus of attention has shifted to really trying to make a difference. I mean, we did reduce in turnover. At the top of this chart here, we had a small reduction, still around the 19 million, but actually if you look proportionally to that drop in 2022, you can see a big difference has been made. We no longer use natural gas or electricity of the grid, but probably the best thing that I can explain on a few slides on, that's just a summary of that reduction. Again, this will be available on LinkedIn, but it's actually how our intensity ratios greatly changed with the type of insulation we had on the building and switching away from energy. We don't have air conditioning, we don't have natural gas in the factory. But the bit that I really wanted to focus on here, our downstream transport and distribution, because this is something that I would encourage all businesses to do. So we've been forever and a day allowing customers the freedom of having 1 pallet one day, 2 pallets the next day, 3 pallets thereafter. We've worked very hard to try and actually get our client base to accept fortnightly deliveries so that we can try and group delivery together for commercial benefit for them, but for mostly for us to try and feel proud in reducing our carbon footprint. And actually, when you look here, that we've reduced that to almost 35% of what it was is incredible. In fact, that's probably our proudest achievement through the whole COVID and Brexit and surviving that era to actually get down to this level of carbon footprint. So it's important to get your stakeholders of customers and your employees, all your leaders on board with this journey, but it can make a big, big difference. The easy wins I've got here on this slide here, we've got on here, actually we switched to LED lighting, we have a big ethos of warm the people, not the space. We don't have air conditioning in our building. We're not based in Australia or in Spain where there are lots of sunny, hot days. In fact, in 2023, I think there are only 5 working days that are hot. So it's trying to think about actually trying not to use air conditioning. That's generally 15% of total carbon footprint globally, and in this country we shouldn't need to use it. So anyway, quick wins here. Where we are on our journey, so we're nowhere near net zero by now. And that's one thing I just wanted to make apparent. In reality, I cannot predict anyone being net zero before 2037 that has to manage physical goods, as in delivering goods, dispatching goods, because the reality is until diesel trucks are a rarity on the road, that will always exist. For ASOS, it's 18%. It won't exist until we get diesel trucks off the road and we have some kind of hydrogen-based or energy-based renewable system. So just a recap on things. So this was the 7 things trending for 2024 that I've talked about. I'm available for all day on stand here for any questions following up, but because I'm coming close to the time at the end, all I'd say is, please connect on LinkedIn. These slides will be available on there. And wish us luck. We're up for the Innovation Award later with this basically bubble mailer alternative. So really appreciate your patience and sitting through and watching all this. And I'll make this available on LinkedIn for you. Right, thanks very much. Thank you. Cheers.